Next week, a story based on the social and military do's and don'ts of Great Britain in the 1800s. Beau Bridges and Robert Powell star in Four Feathers on the next Q6 Sunday Late Movie.
KHQ-TV now leaves the air at the conclusion of another telecasting day. KHQ-TV is owned and operated by KHQ Incorporated, an equal employment opportunities employer. We hope our programs have entertained and informed you, and we invite you to join us again later this morning. Now, this is Ron Harris speaking for the staff and management of KHQ Television, Channel 6, Spokane, Washington, bidding you a very pleasant good night and good morning.
It's been lovely being here with you, dear. It is with regret I have to go. I'll be thinking of you, don't you fear, dear. With a happy heart that loves you so. Pleasant dreams to you, dear. May they all come true, dear. In your slumber I hope there'll be a place for me. Kiss me sweet, and then, dear, till we meet again, dear. Dream a dream that's meant for two. Good night and pleasant dreams to you.
The 10 billion cells of the brain are never still. They flash electrical impulses which control our movements, our thoughts, our emotions, our memories. Now, through what is called biofeedback, experimenters have begun to listen to their own brain waves, and they claim to recognize patterns that have never been known before. They're discovering internal waves which may be at the center of our being, more powerful than any music ever heard. This century, our impossible target, to train our own brain waves to get conscious control over functions like rate of respiration, heartbeat, digestion, and ultimately perhaps to control our emotions, the same emotions that some medical researchers believe may cause disease. The people who believe in biofeedback claim we may learn to live without sickness and beyond aging by listening to our inner selves. It may be new science, religion, music, all or none of these, the promise of altered consciousness to come through biofeedback. There are scientists who now believe what some religions have taught for centuries, that heart rate, respiration, digestion, all may come under conscious control, that we can learn to alter internal functions the way we learn to control our hands and fingers. Los Angeles researcher and neurophysiologist, Dr. Barbara Brown.
One of the reasons that biofeedback is so appealing and so exciting to everyone is that suddenly we find that we are able to exert some kind of mental control over body functions that we've never been able to see or hear or smell or taste before. And this is one of the great excitements. For example, brain waves. We've never had any acquaintance with them before, and yet people can be trained in a laboratory to control.
A patient is learning to control the speed of this train by generating alpha brain waves through an electroencephalograph, an EEG machine. It seems to work. Alpha is associated with a state of relaxed wakefulness. Another brain wave, theta, is said to be related to recall, recognition, creativity, and reverie.
One can see over on the EEG record that the alpha wave activity disappeared, and now he is trying to think making theta waves. He's having a little trouble. It's weaving.
One of the first areas to be relieved by biofeedback may be our hospitals. Some medical researchers estimate that perhaps 70% of all diseases are rooted in psychosomatic causes, emotional problems. The list includes ulcers, asthma, high blood pressure. What will happen when patients, instead of lying there, are turned onto alpha as preventive medicine? If control over anxiety and tension can be achieved through biofeedback, who knows?
Physicians have, by and large, accepted psychosomatic medicine as indicating that it is really emotional reactions which cause disease, certain disease processes. And if we can learn to control our emotions and the effect of those emotions on body processes by biofeedback, for example, in learning to control alpha activity, which is relaxing, and learning to control muscle activity, which is relaxing, this antagonizes, it inhibits, it prevents the effect of anxiety from influencing the changes in body tissues due to tension. And with biofeedback, we can learn to reverse these causes.
Patients with emotional problems, some of them drug addicts and alcoholics, are already getting biofeedback therapy at the Knollys Warts Laboratory in Los Angeles.
I didn't like myself. I didn't like other people. I became a recluse of sorts. I did excessive drinking.
I was referred to the biofeedback group by a psychiatrist because I was very depressed. And my first reactions to the alpha waves were to experience that depression very strongly with alpha. Gradually, however, this did dissipate and turn to anger. And after several months, I learned that the alpha could be used as a way of training one's emotions.
All my life, I've lived within a shell and found it difficult to express my love to anyone. My wife and my 3 kids, and it seemed like after I had about 10 or 15 sessions of biofeedback, I suddenly had an upheaval of emotions come out of me, love come out of me, and was directed toward my wife and my children, and it's been with me ever since. It doesn't seem to diminish at all.
I learned about myself and what I was, who I was, decided where I was going, and it has become truly a magic wand. It's a very exciting experience, and it's when you learn to know yourself and to like yourself, you in turn like and understand others and possibly have more empathy with their problems. And at this point, I am working with the psychiatrist in helping and training other people in the alpha feedback program.
There is also biomusic, made out of the internal rhythms of alpha wave feedback.
As you become more confident about the knowledge of your internal states, they'll translate themselves through music into something which is a basis for better interpersonal communication, better vibes in inner space.
You know, you can think of this as a sort of people's medicine in which, as we move into the future, what we're trying to do is bring competent techniques and disciplines to people for inner knowledge and self-therapy, as you might think of it. What we're trying to do is find ways that we can become more conscious of our inner rhythms, our inner cycles of change, so that we can learn to manage our inner space, sort of a 21st century inner design science, in which you could sort of think of yourself as an ecological system in which what these inner rhythms will allow you to do is to finally manage your own resources in some way that provides for the general well-being of you in a way in which we wish the world could probably manage itself. We seem to have built up in Western society a taboo against knowing who you are, against knowing our internal selves. And it seems to me that biofeedback, especially using the disciplines of music, which are sort of universal coordinating disciplines, we can learn to help deal with those vibrations that we want to be able to pick up from each other.
These people are serenity seekers. They come out at dawn, Sundays, in the San Fernando Valley, in search of alpha brainwave togetherness. They're all part of the 2,400-member Biomeditation Society, one of dozens of such groups exploding into a full-blown pop alpha cult.
The idea of scientific aspect toward internal states is really exciting for me in that it keeps you from fooling yourself into thinking that you're doing something when you're not really doing it, and the instrument tells you when you're doing it, when you're not doing it.
I hate to say the word God. I definitely feel it has to do with things like what we call God, sort of superhuman things.
To skeptics, it's a fraud, and maybe a little bit of buzzing in the ears. To people in the movement, it's part religion, part alpha, part prayerful trip. Leader Jack Gais warms his people up with a preliminary yoga circle of fire.
You are the circle of fire. Allow yourself to become totally it, the process of moving. But be aware of that circle of fire, as the Hindus say, the maya, the illusion that we create and call reality. Now, once you have firmly established that circle of fire around your head, like a halo, possibly, maybe a little tilted, then make a larger circle of fire with your shoulders. Just turn your body Allow it to move in a circle with your shoulders. But keep the circle of fire going around the head. Keep it burning now. Total awareness now. If your mind wanders, that's groovy, but allow it to come back to the circles of fire. Okay, now, are they there? Are they clearly defined? Now, in your imagination, take a look at them for a moment. See them burning brightly there? Again, this is what the Hindus would call Maya, illusion. You have created it, you can undo it. So just do a slow neck roll, reverse neck roll, and allow that circle of fire to disappear. Wipe it out now, all the way. Don't let anything linger behind. Past karma, past guilt, past fears. And then the larger circle of fire. Reverse it. Wipe it out. And that is what Blake would call the cleansing the doors of perception. In a society increasingly permeated with paranoia, fears, doubts, confusion, separateness, the ability of an individual to go into alpha, to let go, will simply help him to relate on a better level to another human being. In the future, we'll be able to tune in to the concentration of beta, to the image possibilities of theta, and mix them. What we need for the moment, we'll be able to do. And biofeedback will be a center in the home, like a lounge or a playroom. Now, can we move from the traditional wisdom and insight of meditative techniques into the amplified awareness of biofeedback? And this time, allow yourself to become the alpha warble. Allow the warble of the signature of the alpha to become a mantra. Flow with it, be with it, don't observe it, but become at one with it as you become at one with the mockingbird accompanying. So will you turn on the instruments and flow with it?
It makes it easier for me to cope with the situation in my everyday life. If I can sort of stop during the day and get into that state. I don't know what the feeling is, and so I try to stay in that state all day long, and it allows me to deal with my children in a much more desirable way.
You still go through the consternations of daily living, but it seems that it would be nice to know that you can return to this more comfortable, serene space at will, and that's what happens after a time.
I tend to lose my identity and become one with the warble. It's just as if I disappear, become the warble. It's just totally in the present, and my mind isn't off thinking about what I'm going to do next or the future, or I'm not thinking of the past, but just stay right there.
It gives me a very calm feeling, and if anything happens that I get excited or anxiety-wise or anything, I can bring myself back and center myself again and look at the situation outside of myself almost.
I started working with biofeedback when I was 53 years old, and I think that it would be very good for anyone at any age to work with.
It's a pulsation which envelops your whole sense of visual reality. And if you allow it to come, it's like an eraser, erasing a lifetime of visual hallucinations and visual ignorance.
Well, man's new state of evolution with the increased knowledge about himself, about his interior self, is going to make a new world for him. He may become free from most all illnesses, both physical and emotional. May have a very much increased natural, longer life. His mental processes may be quite altered. There are indications in brainwaves of what goes on when we are thinking. And it's possible to learn these complexes so that we can accelerate our own thought, so that we can have earlier recognition of concepts and all kinds of things that may go on in the head.
Biofeedback is in danger of becoming merely a fad, but serious researchers hope that after a first euphoric rush, there will be an exponential breakthrough from brain waves, which next century could bring on a new state of evolution, as radically different as first consciousness, and for all of us.
Well, what would you like to begin doing differently? You say you want to learn, you want to find some ways to play with women, and the way you play with her now isn't paying off.
Right.
How would you like things to be between you?
I'd like to find a common ground where really both of us liked what we were doing, playing. And, you know, this isn't...
What would that be like? How would you describe it?
Well, we'd be able to talk without either one of us getting hostile as a result of anything that's said. You know, we'd be able to... Well, most of it would probably be joking, and even in serious conversation, that there might be some joking in there without upsetting anybody. And while joking includes, you know, the put-down kinds of things.
You said you'd be able to talk to each other without getting hostile. That's what playing with her would be.
That's the way...
What do you get hostile about?
I get hostile about being attacked. Mm-hmm. You know, if she starts on me about something she thinks I'm not doing right or not doing at all or something like that, I get hostile about it. Mm-hmm. I get hostile because I don't feel like, well, I think that what she'll do is, it's okay for her to say, let the dishes sit there for 2 or 3 days, but it's not okay for me not to cut the lawn this week. Or it's okay for me to run out of clean clothes, but it's not okay for me to not mop the floor this morning because she wants it done this morning.
Mm-hmm. How are you feeling now as you're talking about it?
A little tight in the gut.
Mm. Here?
Yeah.
Tighten yourself.
Up a little higher.
Tighten yourself more. How's that feel to you?
Oh, it's tight. It's tense.
Is that the way you are a lot of the time?
Yeah.
What are you getting out of that?
Well, somehow it's related to my sense of working.
What?
I think it's somehow related to my sense of working. You know.
I don't understand.
Tension is related to putting out to making an effort at something. Everything requires an effort, and there's a baseline of tension in the body.
Okay, so you're always at a baseline of tension. Is that what you're saying?
Not always, but when I think I'm working, or when I think I ought to be working.
What's working?
It could be a lot of things. It could be like cutting the grass, or washing the dishes, or I catch myself doing it when I'm reading or studying.
So when you're doing things that you ought to be doing?
Yeah.
And you got tense when you started thinking about your wife telling you.
Here I'm working because I'm trying to get across to her an idea that she's doing something that isn't fair. You know, that's kind of work.
You're working to convince her that she's not fair.
Right. But at least to get her to understand what she's doing, you know.
What is she doing? Sounds like you've decided she's making you tense.
No, the tension comes from me, you know. It has to do with my idea of me working. She isn't making me tense. But I get tense when I decide, you know, that I've got something to do here.
As I recall, you got tense when you started thinking about being angry with her. And then you said that had something to do with working. And at that point, I didn't know where that came from.
I think we're going to go on a merry-go-round here.
Is that the merry-go-round starting?
Yeah, that's it.
Let's hear about that merry-go-round. How does it start?
Well, it's a thing of doing what I ought to do for the sake of efficiency, rather than just unloading the emotion that...
What would you like to unload?
Well, in a situation like that, I'd like to yell at her.
Okay, right now, what are you doing for the sake of efficiency? Going back over stuff? Is there something you'd like to unload right now?
Well, it makes me want to yell when I think about the frustration that I feel when I see her not dealing with that uneven-handedness. You know, it's okay for her to do it or not do it.
What do you want to yell?
In most cases, I cuss. You know, I just say a dirty word, depending on...
Do you want to yell now? Are you feeling the unevenness?
Yeah.
You want to yell at her? Put her there and yell at her.
I don't think I've saved up enough to yell yet.
Oh, you can't yell until you've saved up. What do you save?
When it gets to the point that the conversation has broken down, there's no exchange anymore. This is when the tension gets, you know, at its peak.
Okay, so
and this is, you know, when she quits listening or when she quits talking, then I'm ready to yell.
And so you got to save up more of something right now.
Yeah.
Like you're saving stamps.
Right.
So what have you got to save up right now before you can yell?
I'm not sure that it'll get that far because she isn't doing it to me right now. You know, it's just that
So you don't get to yell unless she's picking on you enough so then you can yell.
I don't get to yell unless she stops trying to deal with the problem.
Do you want to yell? Sounds like if it weren't for her, you'd never get to yell and scream and be nasty.
No, that's not the case, because if there's no tension there, then I feel pretty good, and usually I go around making a lot of noise anyhow. But that usually irritates her, too.
Well, then you get to save some more, because she gets irritated about that. What would you do without her?
I'd have a lot of fun.
Tell her that.
I'd have a lot of fun without you.
Tell her what you'd be doing. Say, if it weren't for you.
Well, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be so isolated. I wouldn't feel lonely.
Tell her what you would feel.
I would feel good because I'd have lots of people around me all the time, or a lot of the time. And I wouldn't feel bad about having people just walk into the house when they wanted to stop by and see me without calling or any of that stuff. And I'd drop in on people like that. If I wanted to stay out all night, I'd stay out all night. If I had friends over all night, that'd be okay too. And I'd enjoy it. I'd have a lot of fun.
If it weren't for you, I'd enjoy life more.
Yeah.
Tell her that.
If it weren't for you, I'd enjoy life more.
You'd enjoy people. Tell her some of the things you do with people.
Well, if it weren't for you, I'd get up and go to California next week. I'd go with my sister, and I'd have a good time riding out with her, and I'd be with my family in L.A., and I'd be with friends in Frisco, and I'd really have a good time.
Tell her how you're feeling toward her.
Toward her?
Yeah. She's keeping you from doing all of these things that you want to do. Tell her how you feel about that.
I feel tied down. I feel
That's what you're thinking.
With.
Tell her what you're feeling as you think of all these things you're missing because of her.
What am I feeling? I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling isolated. I'm
Tell her
feeling
about your
intimidated.
loneliness. Tell her how it is to be lonely like you're lonely.
You're watching Sleepcore. Pleasant dreams.
Good morning. I'm Glenn Gardner, and I'd like to welcome you to the Gertrude Gardner Real Estate Digest. We have some beautiful homes all over Metro New Orleans in every price range and some great decorating ideas too. So sit back, relax, get your pencil and paper ready, and maybe even plug in a videotape too.
Gertrude Gardner Realtors presents the Real Estate Digest. Sit back and relax because during the next half hour, you'll see homes for sale in every style and price. We'll supply tips on financing, choosing the home that's right for you, how our sales associates can help. Plus, we'll focus on invaluable real estate information from across the country, like decorating tips, dream home segments, and other highlights.
Enjoy the easiest way to view homes for sale on the Real Estate Digest, brought to you by Gertrude Gardner Realtors. On today's Gertrude Gardner Real Estate Digest, we have many fine homes.
A corner lot in a desirable Metairie location makes this home special. Enter through a beveled leaded glass door and check out the great room, which boasts a hardwood floor and a fireplace. Crown moldings and high ceilings add charm to the dining room and throughout, and the gourmet kitchen boasts a center island cooktop. Contact Carolyn Talbert.
Custom built in a terrific Metairie location, this attractive two-story Acadian offers a lovely living room, a separate dining room with a 13-foot cathedral ceiling, and a stunning gourmet kitchen with ceramic tile counters and pickled oak cabinets. You can see the large lot with Carol Daigle today, 1 till 3.
Immediate occupancy is one advantage of this beautifully renovated two-story in Metairie. An elegant formal living room is another. A fireplace and ceiling fans combine for added comfort. And the dining room will be the scene of many of your fondest memories. Jane Daymood invites you to tour today, 3 to 5.
This charming two-story sits on a great Metairie street and offers a living room dining combo. Also a patio area out back that offers a haven for private relaxation. There are many extras, says Carolyn Talbert. Call today.
Carolyn also has listed this Metairie ranch with a circular driveway leading to an entry with hardwood floors and comfortable living inside. The brick home offers 2 dens that offer room to relax or unwind shooting pool or experiencing a good book. Carolyn Talbert notes a location near schools and a swim club, too.
This well-maintained home is set in a quiet neighborhood in Metairie. The interior boasts great decor, an alarm system, and 4 bedrooms. How about the stylish and immaculate kitchen? Continue through and you'll notice a bay window in the dining area. Relaxing times lie ahead in the pool. See it all with Marlis McNulty.
An excellent school district headlines the list of amenities you'll find at this Metairie home. This darling home will sell quickly. It features comfortable living spaces, a gorgeous dining room, 3 bedrooms, and more. For those of you with the chef's duties, be sure to take a look at the kitchen. This one's open today from 3 to 5 with Flo Lanier.
Updates here include the air conditioning and the water heater. Parquet flooring graces the living room and the dining room as well as the 4 bedrooms. There's also a nice-sized den, and the open floor plan is a real plus. Outside, you'll find 2 covered decks and a hot tub. This Metairie listing is open today between noon and 2, or you can contact Lynn Meyer.
Entertaining comes naturally in this elegant executive Metairie home. The home on a quiet cul-de-sac has a kitchen equipped with plenty of cabinets and other conveniences. The rest of the living areas are roomy and airy. Don Bruner has this one open today from 2 to 4.
If you're up for a few cosmetic improvements, this Metairie home is a good value. The interior is roomy and has double windows that brighten the outlook. Ceiling additions and paneling are other pluses, as is a good roof with a warranty. Randy Lambert says loads of appliances stay, so why not give him a call today and check it out?
3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, and a nice yard make this Metairie listing an appealing purchase. Enter to a bright interior with nice carpeting. The tile in the kitchen is also bright, and the chef will have room to work. The great price makes this one to see. Today from 1 to 3 with Barbara Robinson.
In River Ridge, Southern-style architecture creates a livable, hospitable home where a center hall floor plan makes for a versatile arrangement of rooms for gracious entertaining and comfortable living. And take a look at this awesome fireplace. Mighty cozy, huh? See this and more today at the Open 2 till 4 with Mary Ann Crane.
This Kenner home is in move-in condition. The living room offers an entertaining start and flows into the formal dining room to make your guests feel pampered. The kitchen offers nice decor as well as conveniences, including built-ins and an adjacent eating area. See more with Carolyn Zamjohn.
St. Rose has this adorable race cottage that was renovated in 1990. As you enter, notice the gleaming hardwood floor. You won't have any problem entertaining in this formal dining room. And the cherry cabinets in the island kitchen make quite a statement. For more details, contact Veronica Massa.
Here's one in Destrehan, a pretty 2-story on a quiet street. A stone fireplace is flanked by light-hugging windows in this living area. And the wet bar will serve as a means of refreshment for your guests and family. The ceramic tile floor in the kitchen meets the dining area. Surreal Larson has it open from 3 to 5 today.
Berber carpeting has the interior of this home covered nicely. The family room is kept cozy by a fireplace. And the recent remodeling of the kitchen means you'll get plenty of cabinet and counter space. 2.5 baths come with the 4 bedrooms of this Destrehan home, according to Paula Skaggs.
June Vigner would like you to consider this Destrehan home as your new address. You'll have quite a fireplace to keep you and your family comfy. And when you want to entertain, the formal dining room will be a plus. A casual meal in this breakfast area would be real pleasant. Call June to arrange a closer look.
A well-maintained home in Harvey, this 4-bedroom offers many extras. A vaulted ceiling accents the den, which also has a fireplace. And the comfortable living areas will make it easy to relax. The charming breakfast room is conveniently located just off the kitchen. See the pool today, noon till 2 with San Fidela.
Here's a cute home nicely located on a corner lot in Marrero. Ceiling fans help to keep the interior comfortable, and upgrades include some newer carpet. The blinds and curtains will remain too. A convenient dining area is located off the kitchen. This one's open today with Linda Schroeder from 1 to 3.
The dramatic living room of this New Orleans home boasts a fireplace and cathedral ceiling. Understated elegance makes the dining room special. The breakfast area looks out over the covered deck. Imagine relaxing in this gorgeous setting. Make plans to tour this listing with Eric Bronner.
On behalf of our several hundred outstanding Gertrude Gardner associates, we'd like to thank you and all of our loyal customers for watching and for making it the #1 real estate program in Louisiana. Until next Sunday morning, take care, and we hope you have some good house hunting.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's show. Remember, you can use Gertrude Gardner's professional sales associates to help you with your next real estate decision. At Gertrude Gardner Realtors, we're large enough to serve you and small enough to care.
Be sure to get out and visit the homes that interested you. If you would like more information, call a Gertrude Gardner office near you.
Gertrude Gardner Realtors invites you to join us for another Real Estate Digest.
Well, here I am, right here, as a matter of fact, in the World Trade Center. I wasn't really prepared for this when I came to the city. That's why I picked this backdrop. I figured it was kind of appropriate. It's a big day in the city for the country boy. Topic of conversation is love. I'm not sure. I picked something somewhat romantic in the music, something classical. By Debussy. Now, one thing that's funny, I'm looking at myself on a videotape. I've always wanted to be on TV, or so to speak, and it's funny looking at myself. First of all, it's backwards. I've always had trouble coordinating myself in the mirror. I never know where I'm going here. I'm a little backwards here. Also, I can look at my picture, or I can look at the camera. As I noticed on watching some of the other love tapes, some people seem to kind of not look at themselves when they were talking, when they got more personal. So I should try to get some of the inhibitions out of the way. I'll look myself right in the eye and just sex. There we go. I think that'll do it. I'm not sure exactly how much my 3 minutes have gone by. And, well, I'm not too worried about it. Now, on the subject of love, love can be many different things. There's love between all different kinds of people. A lot of people talk in terms of love between men and women. A lot of people in terms of love as in your fellow human being, all sorts of things. Evolution, I've heard of them. You know, I'm at a point now in my life that the love I'm most concerned about is the love for myself. There's a George Benson song, the need to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And that's what direction I'm trying to move toward now. I'm learning more about myself. I just got a new job. I'm now on my own for the most part, for the first time in my life. And I'm trying to find out, you know, about myself. As a matter of fact, just doing this is a step in the right direction. I'm usually not a very outgoing person, and especially toward, you know, things. This is an artsy sort of thing, something I normally wouldn't be interested in, but trying to broaden my horizons and find out what I like to do. And let's see, about love. Let's see, what have I heard? So many things. Love is never having to say you're sorry. Love is never having to say who farted. I'm here in the city with a friend of mine who I'm very close to. And it's, you know, that's another kind of love, I guess. It's the kind where, you know, somebody will give so much when he has so little. And it's the kind of thing I didn't really expect, yet I recognize it, and I appreciate it.
Here again, making a love tape for technology. Technology allows us to make love tapes. Most of the time I'm really afraid of machines and machinery, but through experiences like this, I'm able to stay in touch with it and keep from being afraid of it. By using the machine, and see that it's only going to do what you let it do or what you tell it to do, it decreases your fear of it. love to do a dance piece for this. I'm not a dancer. I like imagining dance pieces, though. I love Steve Reich. I think he's a genius. You notice the subtle changes in the modal structures, these subtle tonal qualities, a lot like Philip Glass. Do I sound like a music reviewer? Sometimes I get sick of myself. I want to get to a point where I don't become afraid or embarrassed. That's when I'll really be ready for it. I'm a little embarrassed right now, but I'm getting used to that too. Or maybe getting over it. It's amazing, my face is very imperfect. Signing off, Scotty. Hi. Bye. Testing. 1, 2.
Love to me is like a circle, and as I grew older, I found that I had control of the circle, and I could have some part of the input into that circle to have it grow. As a child, I felt I was born into this circle of love, and my parents and older brother and sister welcomed me and placed me within that radius, circumference of the circle, and it grew. And as I went out into the world, I experienced love through friends. I experienced hate also, which I feel, looking back on it, could be included in love. I, later on, after growing up and going into high school and on to college, I took this circle with me, the circle which my parents gave me, and they were now part of it, and I went out into the world, and I experienced love and hate again, in college, on my job. Some people who I thought I maybe hated on the job, I did for my own reasons, but looking back again, it was a relationship. It was not quite love maybe that I seen it at the time, but it was a relationship, and I guess that's what love is to me. The circle grew again, and as I really went out on my own into the world, I decided to take a partner and to bring my love circle with me again. And I chose a wife, and we decided to get married. And marriage brought lots of joy, which I feel is love, brought a lot of hardship. And my children, they're now my love circle, and my wife. I think we've embraced a community with love, and we're looking to grow. That was a fast 3 minutes.
Yeah, it goes quicker.
Hello, love. I'm here to talk about love. I think that love is wonderful. But why is it so painful? See, love is nice. Love is fine. I love to love and I love to be loved. But I just hate the pain that you must feel behind love. It doesn't have to be person. It can be person, place, or thing, whatever. If you love it, you love it. But it's so painful. I don't know what to say. Love can be fun. Love can be sad. Love can be happy. When you love someone, you just love them. It can be your pet, your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, parents, sisters, brothers, whatever. It can be either of them. It's a very emotional feeling. It makes you feel good, make you feel like you're just rising or something. Sometimes when you fall in love, you ask yourself, why did I have to be the one to fall in love? It's not what I expected it to be. It's not what I wanted it to be. You know, you never think it would be so meaningful as it is until once you've gotten involved in it. But it's a wonderful feeling, and I love it. And I wouldn't mind doing it again and again and again. So to everyone that's in love, this big city, hope that you enjoy it as much as I think I do. I do. I froze. Forgot everything I wanted to say.
You're watching Sleepcore, media for insomnia.
What would you say if someone showed you a system that could do classified ads, VTR control, accounting, and ad insertion at an affordable price? A trick? Smoke and mirrors? Magic? It is. Our technical wizards have spent years of research and development to bring this achievement from the realm of dreams into the real world. What is it? The Magic Box, a family of products that allows character generation, photo ads, VTR control, and ad insertion in one system, and at a price you don't have to turn lead into gold to afford. The heart of the Magic Box system is the operations CPU. This low-cost device allows character-generated announcements and classified ads to be created quickly and easily. A variety of exciting backgrounds and useful graphics characters give your ads a polished, professional look in just seconds. The built-in software features a complete billing system and accounting package that allows you to track your clients effectively. Ads can be grouped by category, set aside for special use, or scheduled to air at a specific time during a magazine show. The optional weather display allows useful information about current conditions and trends to be conveyed to your viewers. All in all, the Magic Box Operations CPU offers an ideal way to enhance your revenue with minimal investment. But look where we can take you from here. With the Magic Box creation system, you can produce attractive, effective ads that grab your viewers' attention. And our system will create these stunning displays automatically, like magic. You don't have to be a graphic artist or dedicate a staff member to run a photo ad channel. It's as simple as abracadabra. Just scan the photo, type in your ad copy, and select some pre-created ad formats. Click on the Make button and let our magic go to work for you. Once an ad is created, it can be easily edited or changed to make a series of similar ads. If you have a flair for the creative, we don't get in your way. 2 industry-standard paint programs are included with a variety of artistic tools for touching up existing ads or to create new masterpieces from scratch. The paint package can even be used within a production environment to add spice to your industrial videos and commercials. The digital audio package allows you to add voiceovers to your ads for impact.
Shopping for a used vehicle doesn't have to be difficult. Let Oak Valley Honda help you make a smart choice easy. Oak Valley Honda, just north of McMinnville on 99W.
Creating ads is only a first step. You also have to get them to your head end or transmission facility, which can be right next door or miles away. The Magic Box supports remote creation and transmission of ads via ordinary phone lines. In fact, every single function, including accounting and printing, can be remotely controlled. You may never have to visit your head end again. The Magic Box Creation System. Everything you need to create ads that will make your revenue soar at a price that's down to earth. The Magic Box can automate your LO channel for the playback of local programming. From a single VTR for airing public access programming to a completely automated multi-VTR setup, the Magic Box is like an unseen master control operator, keeping you on the air on time. You can check on the status of your VTRs at any time from any location using our remote control package. You can even reschedule programming at a moment's notice. You may be thinking about getting into ad insertion, but are concerned about the high startup costs. You may already insert onto many channels, but are looking for economical ways to do more. The Magic Box can insert spots onto most networks with the addition of industry-standard hardware. You get the versatility of several insertion methods, from the simple run-of-schedule mode to the flexible random pod mode. Economics of operation is the key factor in any insertion system. The Magic Box helps keep costs down by allowing just one VTR to insert spots into 2 networks. For operators with a limited production budget, you can even insert photo and text ads for true no VTR digital video spots. As with any professional insertion system, the Magic Box keeps track of every insert and generates appropriate reports. What sets us apart, however, is that the Magic Box insertion system is tied directly to the billing system. You can actually bill clients for spots as they air. No other system offers this many options in one platform, which means that as your needs grow, your system can grow to meet them, adding to the hardware you already have. We offer the features you need today without limiting your future. When it comes to product support, we won't perform a vanishing act. Every Magic Box is extensively tested before shipment to assure easy setup and immediate operation. We back our product with an extensive support plan for both hardware and software. Our helpline is available for questions or suggestions. In fact, most of the features in a Magic Box are the direct result of suggestions and comments from users. Please give us a call and tell us about your system needs. We'll put together a custom proposal that will make you believe in magic.
Years ago, nobody's education included the bassoon because it hadn't been invented yet. As new technologies develop, education changes. How will today's new technologies affect tomorrow's education?
We've been fooled for 100,000 years into believing that our perceptions are correctly revealing what is going on in the world. It's only been a few hundred years ago that people started waking up and realizing that by being more careful, more probing, giving up the idea of absolute truth, that all of a sudden there's a whole other world revealed. And it's a world that's a lot more reliable and gives us much more power than the world we lived in for 100,000 years.
Back when a computer was a room full of equipment attended only by the elect, Alan Kay envisioned a portable, personal computer and directed a group of researchers that developed the features we now see on laptops all around us. He invented the overlapping Windows interface and modern object-oriented programming. Since October 1996, Alan has been affiliated with Walt Disney Company as a Disney Fellow and Vice President of Research and Development.
So one of the questions that we asked back in the 60s is, can't the internet be as subversive to humanity as the printing press was? And back then we had a simple-minded model of what the printing press had done. For instance, I didn't know that only 10% of Americans in the 18th and 19th centuries were really educated back then. I didn't know the printing press had basically gone from having one educated person in 100 in the year 1400 to having maybe 20 educated people in 100 now after 400 or 500 years. And the power of being able to read and the power of science. For instance, there are less than 1% of our entire population in the U.S. are scientists and engineers. And it's from them we get all of the technology and all of the new ideas and stuff, and it's so powerful. And the technology to make it and spread it is so powerful that less than 1% of the population can sustain the illusion that we are a scientific society. Right? Our artifacts are everywhere, but most people, as Neil Postman said once, have to take more things on faith now in the 20th century than they did in the Middle Ages. Right? Because there's more knowledge that most people have to believe in dogmatically or be confused about. But in fact, the number of people who actually understand this new knowledge is maybe 5 or 10% of the population. So that way of looking at it says the printing press was incredibly successful at changing society, but it wasn't incredibly successful at changing humanity. Right? I think the internet has the same problem. Actually, a good anecdote here is Al Gore had a number of dinners at his house in Washington where he invited people in who are concerned about education. And the particular dinner I was at, my wife and I were there, and Arno Penzias, who's a Nobel Prize winner who ran Bell Labs for a while, Neil Postman was at this particular one, and the discussion was broken up into dinner tables and of about 8 or 9 people apiece. And one of the things that they did at the end was to have everybody vote on what the most interesting thing that was said during this thing. Now, I wasn't at the table, but my wife was at the table with Al Gore. And apparently she got into an argument with him because he was talking, he's a great guy, but he was talking about kind of a politician's concern for universal access to the internet. There will be haves and have-nots. And she said, look, most of the stuff that's worthwhile knowing is still in books, and those books are in free public libraries. That was the legacy of Andrew Carnegie. And the real have and have-nots are the people who have or have not the discernment to go in and use those libraries. The biggest problem is that there already is a universal access to the most important knowledge of our civilization, and most people aren't using it. And I believe that's the basic problem of the internet, is that it has those properties that the library has, and it has them 100-fold, and it can be in people's houses and everything else. But there's a discernment problem, which is a value problem. It's a value. At some point, the kids have to value stuff that's hard. It's like tough love, right? Seymour Papert calls learning powerful ideas tough fun. It's like learning to hit a baseball or shooting a basket or playing a musical instrument. It just isn't easy. And part of the joy of it is what you have to become in order to learn something that's not easy. And it's the value system for that, which is so easy to find out what Michael Jackson does via television. And it's so easy to find out what Michael Jordan does via television. But via television, you cannot find out what Michael Faraday did, because a scientist just doesn't do anything interesting when they're doing their thing. There's nothing visually interesting about it, or when they're talking about their thing. That's why I'm sitting in having all of these different places, to have some sort of visual interest, which is what television is interested in. But in fact, the biggest shortfall is that there's nothing strongly in the environment of most kids that gives them any sense of what the range of adult activities really is. This is why McLuhan really thought that there would be a global village because of television and electronic media, and I, for one, do not want a global village. I want a global civilization. I do not want to recapitulate a global village culture, traditional village culture back on the world here. I think it just has almost everything that I think is wrong with the way humans think about things. But that's basically what is happening. And the internet allows an incredible balkanization as well to people who are there, and the whole difficulty of and premise and promise of school was that school was supposed to bridge the gap between a village culture and a civilized culture.
Oh yes. Why shouldn't I? Any reason why not?
Have you ever taken LSD?
No. I've thought about it. I've talked with many people who have taken it. And I have read Finnegan's Wake aloud at a time when takers of LSD said that is just like LSD. So I've begun to feel that LSD may just be the lazy man's form of Finnegan's Wake.
You said that bad news was indispensable to newspapers. Is the same thing true for television?
Well, it's like saying if TV is a cool medium, then you can't use it for hot jobs. Like the Vietnam War is a hot war, it won't go on TV. It's the first war ever, a hot shooting war ever shown on a cool medium. The cool medium involves the whole audience so deeply they find war unbearable. Show the same war on movie, on press photography and so on, people won't feel too badly about it. But on TV, they really feel it. They're involved for the first time. And so LBJ is making a great big mistake in trying to have a hot war on a cool medium.
What should Canada do to be taken more seriously in the world?
When you say what should Canada do to be taken more seriously, I think we're very lucky to be a backward country. At a time like this, the less involved, the less hot, the less you are in the midst of the big events, surely the better off you are. No, I think it's a great asset. Also, when you are out of the main swim, as it were, you have a much better opportunity of seeing what's going on. Canadians have a tremendous opportunity to observe what's really happening in the world. I think Canada has the opportunity of taking the entire world as show business, rather than as a serious and dreadful happening. You know, why not? Why shouldn't Canadians accept the world as a happening and as show business?
What do you think Marshall McLuhan ought to do if he wants to be taken more seriously in the world today?
Marshall McLuhan is taken far too seriously. I certainly wouldn't do anything to increase that.
Marshall McLuhan, you say TV has turned the world into a global village. Am I right? Will it turn us all into global village idiots?
Again, there are worse fates. An idiot means a very private person. That's a Greek word, meaning a very private person. I'm losing my idiot status steadily. I'm becoming less and less private. I'd much rather be an idiot. The book, in this picture, the assumption was made that the book was the source and cause of all idiotism, all individuality, and that the new media will turn us all into collective automata robots. This rather simple-minded idea. I mean, Truffaut and Bradbury together had cooked up something that's not very convincing. They are certainly true that the book has had an enormous amount to do with creating individuality, and the more people become individuals, the more they become competitive, and the more they compete, the more they become alike. It's true that competition has, and repeatability has tended to create a great sameness. And you can see that cool media don't always have that effect. There may be more individuality coming out of cool media.
You've been quoted as saying that you don't necessarily agree with everything that you say.
I have no point of view, as for example now. See, I couldn't possibly have a point of view. I'm just moving around and picking up information from many directions. No, a point of view means a static fixed position, and you can't have a static fixed position in the electric age. It's impossible to have a point of view in the electric age and have any meaning at all. You've got to be everywhere at once, whether you like it or not. You have to be participating in everything going on at the same time, and that is not a point of view.
Would it really matter if someone burned all the books in the world?
Well, I should think so. It would make quite a difference. But the possibility of recreating libraries has now become fantastically real. For example, all the books in the world can be put on a single desktop, 20 million. 20 million books can now be put open, every page, on single desktop by microfilm. The sort of things that are happening make that picture, that Truffaut picture, look rather obsolete. They still think of books as made as bound paper objects, but in the new microfilm age, microcard age and so on, the book is taking on a totally new meaning. In the age of Xerox, the book takes on a totally new meaning. It becomes an information service. It ceases to be a package. The book is no longer a package. It's information service.
Why do you say Canada is a backward country?
Oh, I'm using that term whimsically, meaning we are born in the 19th century, we're of 19th century origin, and we stayed there. People like the Americans who've decided to try it out in the 20th century have done such a bad job, we don't feel any temptation to follow them.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I think that almost all cultural critics begin from a certain position. They are on the mountaintop, and they are preaching to the debased and benighted, masses below. And almost every book of cultural criticism not only takes that posture, but scolds, Americans, and says essentially, look at, I'm superior to this whole process. And I think when you finish books like those, and there are scads of them, you feel a certain kind of complacency. I say that it addresses entertainment mentality. There's an entertainment mentality that says, look, there's closure at the end of the movie. It's told you what to think and how to feel. And I think most cultural criticism does the same thing. There's that same kind of complacency and closure at the end of most books about contemporary American society, and you feel superior to the process. That's about them. When Lasch writes about a culture of narcissism, even though he's indicting all of America, you read the book and you say, well, that's not me, that's somebody else. I didn't want that to happen in this book. Nor did I want to be a Cassandra in this book and say, you know, we are going to hell in a handbasket. This is the end of American civilization, as so many cultural critics say. I think one has to be very careful in delineating what are the pernicious effects of an entertainment-driven culture and what are the salutary effects of an entertainment-driven culture. Now, there are pernicious effects. I certainly don't deny that. And in fact, as I say in the introduction to the book, I mean, the book has an attitude. It may not have closure, but it has an attitude about the absurdities to which entertainment has driven us. And they are everywhere. I mean, from the Monica Lewinsky scandal to Martha Stewart to Fox Television, which, you know, heavily concentrates on so-called reality programming, you know, shocking moments, famous pet attacks, you know, high-speed car chases. All of these are part and parcel of an entertainment-driven society. And they can have negative effects, and if you like, I mean, I can delineate some of those.
I'm not asking you to, but I'm fascinated by what you say there, because on page 9 of this wonderful book, Life the Movie, you do say, you're right, while this book is not without an attitude, particularly toward some of the absurdities to which entertainment has driven us, readers are here forewarned that it is diagnostic rather than prescriptive, an investigation rather than a screed. At the bottom of that page, you say, talking about entertainment, it is, or the American approach, it is not any ism but entertainment that is arguably the most pervasive, powerful, and ineluctable force of our time. A force so overwhelming that it has finally metastasized into life. And I thought, aha, Gabler does have an attitude. He wouldn't have
I'm
used
tipping
the
my
word.
hand. Well, I use Ebola virus earlier in that chapter, metastasized, and I talk about corrosive effects as well. And I use those words advisedly because there are corrosive effects, and there is a metastasis, and there is an Ebola virus in the way that entertainment works. But let's examine, you know, where those things are harmful and where they aren't. For example, if you look at conventional entertainment, which increasingly drives this society, I mean, I have no great quarrel with conventional entertainment. You know, I think that, you know, pleasure is one of the things that entertainment gives us. We have more time for pleasure than any previous generation. And so, I mean, I can't really look down my nose at you know, conventional entertainments like movies and television programs and
Why do you say
at least
that,
generically, I can't.
Why do you say that as a disclaimer? I can't do that. In fact, the book is saying, I won't look
I won't
down
do that,
my nose.
exactly. And I don't feel that way as well. I mean, some people see this as equivocation. It's not equivocation. You know, there's a difference
Except
between
for
being...
the metastasis.
Well, except for, I'll tell you about the metastasis in a moment, because I think there is a metastasis going on, but and we have to identify exactly where it is. I mean, surgically, we've got to do the biopsy on our culture, find it, and identify it. So in terms of conventional entertainment, I have no quarrel. Let's look at the other end of the spectrum, which is something that you alluded to earlier in the New York Times piece, and that is in ordinary people's lives. It can have negative effects, but on the other hand, it can have very salutary effects as people use the movies that they write of their own lives, their own scripts, to help them cope with modern reality. And I'm sure we'll get into that in more depth. But now let's look at the center. The center is where entertainment pervades institutions that heretofore were not necessarily entertainment institutions and converts them into branches of show business. I mean journalism, I mean religion, I mean education, athletics, the courts, almost every aspect of American life, I claim, is in one way or another, to a greater or lesser degree, converted by entertainment into an entertainment force. That, I think, can be pernicious. And again, I say can be because I think we've got to be careful on how we frame that.
I do agree with you. I think the difference between the 1960s and the 1990s in terms of these psychedelic compounds is that the 60s entirely lacked any awareness of shamanism or the historical role that these substances had played throughout human history and prehistory. The 60s believed they were inventing this reality for the first time. Now that we have been able to compare the psychedelic experience to the way it is done in the Amazon, in West Africa, in areas where these things have been used and understood for a long time, we now have a model. And it's the model not that you take low doses and go with your friends to a rock concert, but that you take high doses in a situation of sensory isolation, such as a quiet, dark room, and make an inward journey into the self that parallels the journey that shamans have always made to recover lost souls, or to cure, or to discover the whereabouts of lost objects. So in a way, psychedelic exploration has gained power, respectability, and legitimacy by discovering that its own roots were in a Paleolithic religion of great power and wide distribution. In other words, psychedelic voyaging is not something new. This is how religion was done for the first 1,000,000 years, not the last 2,000 years. This is really the only exception to this rule. And I agree with what you also said about how vast this domain seems to be. Serious psychedelic voyagers, I think, can agree, the further in you go to this realm, the larger it appears to be. Really what we are doing is we are discovering the inner richness of organism. That, you know, the richness of the human world is not in owning stuff. The richness of the human world lies in being able to access what is within us. Our minds are not blank slates or merely repositories of traumatic memory. Our minds are doorways into an infinite labyrinth, a kind of Borgesian library of infinite possibilities, and we can choose to open these doorways in whatever sequence or fashion we wish.
It's my feeling that advertising is one of the most powerful educational forces in our society, that it's one of the major ways in which we learn our attitudes. And our attitudes, of course, shape and to a great extent determine our behavior. We are each of us in this country exposed to over 1,500 ads every single day. The average American will spend 1.5 years of his or her life watching television commercials, just the commercials. And advertising is, of course, the foundation of the mass media. Advertising is the economic lifeblood of the mass media. The primary purpose of television programs is to round up an audience to be there for the commercials. The primary purpose of the mass media is to deliver audiences to advertisers, so that the advertisers in turn can sell their products. Now, the ads do sell products, but they also sell a great deal more than products. They sell values, they sell images, they sell concepts of love and sexuality, of romance, of success, of popularity, and perhaps most important, of normalcy. To a very great extent, they tell us who we are and who we should be. Advertising reflects a mythological world, a world in which, first of all, almost everyone is white, a world in which men outnumber women by 2 to 1, and almost all the women are young and beautiful. 80% of all the women in television commercials are under 40, which is hardly the real world. In addition, it's a world in which absolutely everyone is heterosexual, And furthermore, for the most part, still living in a nuclear family in which the man goes out to work while the woman stays at home with the children. Today, this accurately describes 12% of American households. So much for the real world. In addition, it's a world in which no one is ever disabled, either physically or mentally, unless you count the housewives who talk to little men in toilet bowls, but that's another story. And finally, it's a world in which people talk only about products. This may be the most bizarre aspect of them all. Now, we're surrounded by this. We know it's not real. We know it's an illusion, and yet it's difficult not to, on some level, compare our own lives to it. That's one aspect, and I think it's important. Another that's equally important is that advertising is an over $100 billion a year industry. The advertisers have enormously sophisticated techniques, and we as consumers are, for the most part, completely ignorant of what these techniques are. Not because we're stupid, but because we've never been encouraged to look at the ads and to take them seriously.
Do you dream of being able to eat delicious, mouth-watering foods like these, but you know that you can't? Because they're filled with all that wonderful fat. Fat that'll make you fat. Well, stop dreaming and start eating. Because for the first time ever, you can eat great and still lose weight thanks to the amazing Informa system, Fat Trapper, and exercise in a bottle. With Informa, you can eat what you want and never, ever, ever, ever have to diet again. No special foods, no crash diets, and yes, it really works.
I have the Informa system, I have the Fat Trapper, and that gives me all the confidence.
Forget fat-free food. It doesn't need to exist anymore.
You can eat. You can eat anything you want. It is unbelievable. I never would have believed that there is truly a natural product that is not going to kill you that works.
I'm going to go have a slice of pizza.
Join baseball great Steve Garvey and nutritionist Kendall Carson as we show how the Informa system stands up to the toughest test and show how well this natural miracle really works. Informa will free you from your fear of fat forever. Now, let's join our hosts and see what's cooking.
Hi, I'm Steve Garvey.
And I'm Kendall Carson. Welcome to our show.
We're here to tell you about an amazing new system that will help you lose weight, burn more calories, and even lower cholesterol by simply taking a pill.
We know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. The future is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. How many times have we wished that we could just take a pill and trap all those fatty calories that we just ate before they go to our hips?
The Informa system helps you do just that. And we're going to explain to you just how these two miraculous little pills work. You know, Kendall, I've been an athlete all my life, and I've always had to watch what I eat. And now as a nutritionist, you're telling me I don't have to worry anymore?
That's exactly what I'm telling you, Steve. The Informa system is unique. Not only does it literally trap fat before it's had a chance to be absorbed by your system, but, and this is the most exciting part, it helps your body to burn more calories while you're just standing or sitting around doing nothing, even while you're sleeping.
Kendall, that sounds like a miracle to me. A miracle created by nature and brought to us through science.
Exactly. That's what the Informa system does.
Fat Trapper blocks fat from wherever it may arise, grabs hold of the fat, wraps it up, ties it into a bundle which is then too heavy to pass through the gut wall, and as a result, that fat cannot stay in the human body. It has to be expelled. Your body has no other choice. If you don't increase the amount of fat in your daily intake and you take Fat Trapper, the result is that stored fat in your body is going to be burned and removed from your system, just as the dietary fat is going to be removed from your system. The net result is a loss in weight. And by the way, since there are specific sites in our body where we like to store fat, you're going to find that your body begins to reshape itself into a youthful, more agile frame.
Does this mean I can eat as much of anything as I want?
Of course not, Steve. But Fat Trapper can trap up to 120 grams of fat per day. That's over 1,000 calories from fat, and that's a lot of fat.
Well, it sure is. How can it do all that?
There are two kinds of fiber, Steve. Fat Trapper has a unique combination of an insoluble fiber called chitin, which soaks up fat, and a soluble fiber, which increases chitin's ability to absorb the fat. But the most important thing is that you can use Fat Trapper for the rest of your life without side effects.
That's absolutely amazing. We're actually going to see how Fat Trapper traps fat in a demonstration a little later. But first, tell us how exercise in a bottle fits in.
Exercise in a bottle actually increases muscle cell activity or metabolism due to a natural ingredient called pyruvate. Pyruvate increases the activity in all the cells in your body, which causes calories to be burned. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition reported that overweight people lost 48% more fat with pyruvate than a control group without it.
48%. That's incredible.
And you don't feel any side effects, Steve, like the jitters after taking exercise in a bottle. But your muscles go right to work.
So as a system, Fat Trapper blocks new fat from entering your body, and exercise in a bottle gets rid of the old fat that already exists in your body. That's amazing.
That's right.
I didn't realize it, that I was just going around feeling guilty all the time about eating. Come on, eating. I mean, eat a piece of pizza, I feel terrible. I had some ice cream, gee, I felt awful. Now, I don't worry about that. I don't have that. I worry about other things, important things. You know, I have the Informa system. I have the Fat Trapper. And that gives me all the confidence. And it really just, it takes a lot of weight off my shoulders. All of that tension and stress that I was, causing myself.
The exercise in the bottle helps work with the fat that's already in your system, with clearing that out that's been there for a long time because you haven't been exercising. And then Fat Trapper, actually, when you're eating currently, it takes the fat and pulls it out of your body so that you can eat and you actually don't gain weight.
I've heard a lot of different kind of diets, a lot. But now the Informa system's here, so watch out.
You're watching Sleepcore. Sleep tight.
Armstrong reported back when he received the good wishes. Thank you very much. We know it will be a good flight. Firing command coming in now. We are on the automatic sequence. We're approaching go on Apollo 11 at this time. The vehicle starting to pressurize as far as the propellant tanks are concerned, and all is still go as we monitor our status for it. 2 minutes, 10 seconds, and counting. The target for the Apollo 11 astronauts, the moon, at liftoff will be at a distance of 208. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on proper heading. Plus 30 seconds.
Roll's complete and the pitch is programming. One Bravo.
One Bravo is a abort control mode. Altitude's 2 miles.
Apollo 11 Houston, you're good at 1 minute.
Downrange 1 mile, altitude 4 miles now. Velocity 2,100.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera, so your view now is probably better than ours is. Roger, we copy. 11 Houston, if you could comply, we'd like to see some smiling faces up there. If you could give us some interior views, I'm sure everybody'd like to see you. Over. Okay, we'll reconfigure the TV for that. Roger. Mike Collins there. Well, you got a little bit of... Yeah, hello there, sports fans. You got a little bit of me, plus Neil coming in 5 by. I got a good... All right, put on a code. Roger. Looks like Neil is coming in 5 by there. 11. Mike, see you in the background. The definition is really outstanding. He's disappearing up into the tungsten in the telescope that we used to take sightings with. Roger, copy, and we see the disc keep flashing with a 651. In fact, we can read registers 1 and 2 quite. We can also give you the time of day in our system of mission elapsed minutes and 15 seconds.
The T2 event,
That is about 3 hours from now. Stand by. Well, we'll give you some time to think about that. Tranquility Base, Houston, we thought about it. Fine. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Houston, were you able to record in a documentary way where the two samples were taken? Negative. Now, I didn't get a stereo pair of those two, but they're right in the vicinity of the solar wind. Neil, this is Houston. After you've got the core tubes and the solar wind, anything else that you can throw into the box would be acceptable. I do. Cap was right. I got the cap. Got the cap? They're both good caps on around. Okay. And you want to pick up some stuff and I'll get these aseptic ones? Throw the solar wind in.
Remember, as you see them almost soaring about there. Buzz Aldrin retrieving the solar wind experiment. With all that equipment on, they would weigh 300 pounds on Earth. But only 50 pounds lunar gravity. They're so very businesslike and calm about it. And yet it's still incredible to sit down here and look up there at me.
Buzz, this is Houston. It's about time for you to start your EVA closeout activities. Roger.
They've been on their life support system. On their life support systems, 2 hours and 25 minutes.
So dream when you're feeling blue. Dream of memories there, so deep. When the day is through, dream, and it might come true.
Western Electric, 30 years ago, before solid-state electronics and transistors. From factories like this came a nationwide switching network connecting millions of telephones. If only two phones existed, only two wires would be needed to connect them. 10 phones would require 90 wires to reach each other, if no switching means were available. The 85 million phones in actual use today would need an astronomical number of wires without an adequate switching system. The switching network built by Western Electric includes over 10,000 major switching centers that enable any phone to reach any other phone using the minimum number of channels. The network has served and grown without interruption for nearly a century. New products and techniques have kept it up to date, always working. Today, the electronics revolution has transformed manufacturing. New kinds of challenges confront communications scientists and engineers. To make today's components, they must probe matter more deeply, to solve problems of material characteristics, to deal with temperatures from 200 degrees below to 2,000 degrees above zero Fahrenheit. They must create new materials and shape them on a molecular scale. This requires new tools, new processing techniques, an entirely new manufacturing environment. Precision is essential at every step in processing and measurement. Microscopes and instruments extend the capabilities of eyes and fingers, increasing skills. Atmosphere must be controlled, from tremendous pressures to a high vacuum previously found only in space. And dirt and dust must be excluded. Sometimes light and color must be controlled. From this new environment is now emerging the hardware of an important development in communications. Number one, ESS, an electronic switching system. Designed by Bell Telephone Laboratories, ESS is manufactured by Western Electric for the Bell system to meet the challenge of expanding telephone needs. ESS represents a radical advance in making telephone connections. Virtually all electronic, it uses magnetically stored information to control the operations necessary to put through a call. An incoming call is detected by scanners, which report it to central control. Central control routes the number being called into a temporary memory unit, where it is held. Then, using the semi-permanent memory unit, central control determines whether the call is local or long distance, and what lines must be used to make connections. This information is contained in magnetized memory cards that function somewhat like punched cards used with business machines. The cards can be easily removed for alteration of the information. When central control has obtained all the data necessary for completing the call, it issues instructions to the switching network. The network, together with circuits that lead to trunk and local lines, performs the physical functions that connect the telephones. The time from the moment dialing is completed to the moment the called number rings is a small fraction of a second. ESS offers uniquely flexible, convenient service. It can transfer your calls to another phone when you're away from your own. If you're busy talking, it can automatically signal you that another call is trying to reach you. It can set up conference calls. And dialing just a few digits will connect you to numbers you call frequently. The key to these services is stored program control. Part of this control system is the semi-permanent memory unit, called the twistor module. In its manufacture and assembly, new processes and tools are being developed to assist human skills in achieving greater precision and uniformity. Access to information stored on the memory cards is provided by special twistor wire. To make this wire, a thin permalloy tape is wrapped in a spiral around a small copper wire, thinner than hair, at 12,000 revolutions per minute. The tape itself is formed from wire under a pressure of 1 million pounds per square inch. Any dirt or imperfection in the metal, even a 10,000th of an inch in size, can ruin a complete memory unit. "45 twistor wires, along with accompanying conductor wires, are embedded by heat between two mylar polyethylene belts. Wire placement is checked in the finished cable. During the early years of manufacture, electrical test records were kept on every 1,000th of an inch of twistor wire, allowing a check on later performance. Here, as in most ESS manufacture, quality depends on precision. When the twistor module is assembled, twistor wires line up at right angles to copper straps, which function as solenoids. There are more than 300,000 intersections in each memory module. Not one wire can vary in position more than 3,000ths of an inch. A typical ESS program store includes 16 wired modules, with a capacity of nearly 6 million information bits. More than half are used for self-checking maintenance programs. The rest used for more versatile switching programs than is possible with the electromechanical system still in general use. Another high production component, the sealed contact. This is the basic element of the ferried switch that performs line switching functions in ESS. Millions of such contacts will be needed every year. From preparation of the iron-nickel reeds to final assembly, mechanized processes are brought into play. There have been many production problems to solve. Not even a speck of dust 1/1000th of an inch in size can be tolerated. Also, the reeds are soft after annealing. Human handling had to be avoided. The solution? Loading and transporting the reeds in racks through gold and silver plating to chemical and ultrasonic cleaning. A pair of reeds are sealed under pressure in a small glass capsule. Production problems must be solved every day. For example, unstable contact resistance. Its causes were not fully understood, especially in the early stage of manufacture. But the facts leading to a solution are coming from constant research and testing. The ferried switch, which uses sealed contacts, represents a great advance in switching. When performance and economy become competitive, further advances will probably come from solid-state technology. Here is a world where material is grown into crystals with controlled impurities, with intolerances which are molecular, even atomic. The objective? Semiconductors, transistors, and diodes needed by the millions for ESS offices. Bell Laboratories' invention of the transistor and its later work in semiconductors made the basic concept of electronic switching a practicality. This single silicon crystal will be trimmed, then sliced and diced. These slices have been cleaned in a liquid by means of ultrasonic energy. A special technique, called epitaxial deposition, involves the growing of molecular layers in an oven to extend the originally grown crystal structure of the silicon slices. Control of temperature is critical. It must be uniform across the slices. Materials such as boron and phosphorus are diffused into the silicon to provide desired electronic characteristics. This diffusion is measured in parts per billion. Patterns are made by a photographic process and then micro-machined by chemical etching to produce nearly 1,700 transistors on each slice. testing and measuring are continuous for resistivity, for thickness. These are controlled to rigid specifications to suit many applications. Hundreds of solid-state components nearly ready for cutting. New processing techniques are increasing semiconductor production rates as well as improving quality and reducing unit cost. As solid-state manufacture becomes increasingly sub-miniaturized, problems multiply. For example, in attaching leads. Gold wire, 1/1000th of an inch thick, is joined to thin aluminum electrodes that have a bonding area only a few thousandths of an inch square. Connections are made at a rate of 400 transistors per hour. Semiconductors must meet reliability and performance requirements matched only in missile and space technology. To assure uninterrupted service, major ESS units are duplicated in each installation. Alternate routing is accomplished in microseconds. There is a continuing challenge. Increase the production rate of ESS units to reduce costs and at the same time improve unit quality. The challenge can be met by improving design and manufacturing techniques. In the case of the ferried switch assembly, a newly developed concept makes it possible to wind 64 coils in one continuous operation. Mechanized processes such as this are expected to increase ESS frame production at a very rapid rate within the next decade. There are many specific manufacturing challenges. Operations such as wiring the ferrite memory module depend on human skills supplemented by training and expert supervision. Manufacturing a complex system is accomplished by dividing the process into many separate operations, such as this. Intricate yet compact circuits allow ESS to check itself continuously, report a change in component performance that may lead to failure, and direct replacement of a suspected unit. Faster switching and continual self-maintenance enable an ESS office to process many more calls than previous electromechanical systems, while requiring less space. Somewhat like a teaching machine, a wiring assist device uses punch tape, which causes a sequence of lights to direct the operator's work. In all areas of ESS manufacture, solving production problems has required a new look at the skills of people and machines, a search for the best ways to combine them. Human sensing, judging, and tactile abilities often provide a more suitable solution to a production problem than can be offered by the most complex machinery. ESS units are designed for a minimum of interconnections at the final installation, so that most of the wiring and much of the detailed testing can be done at the factory. Thus, manufacturing responsibility extends far beyond the making of parts to include integrated construction of an entire system. This manufacturing experience has already led to even more sophisticated processes and devices that may find application in future systems. One of the most promising developments, thin film circuits. In a unique moving line vacuum chamber, pure metal is deposited on glass or ceramic plates in a film only 4/1,000,000 of an inch thick. Using an emulsion sensitive to ultraviolet light, photoresist processes generate circuit patterns. The negative design permits certain areas of the plate to be exposed. The pattern is varied according to the desired circuit application. The exposed area is etched off. Greatly magnified on a shadow graph, a resistor pattern is checked for precision. Each plate contains 54 complete resistors and interconnections. These thin film resistors can be adjusted to close tolerances. They're extremely stable and economical to manufacture. Contact areas for leads are deposited by a sputtering process. The basic goal, whatever the product, make it smaller, more reliable, more economical, extend its function. Beam lead and multiple chip circuits are a step toward fully integrated circuits grown into a single block of semiconductor materials. This is the threshold of electronic telephone switching. In the years ahead, electronic central offices will bring new and better kinds of service to the telephone user.
You're watching Sleepcore. Pleasant dreams.
I suppose most of you are familiar with this old optical illusion. And you're asked the question, which of the three thick black lines is the longer? And I suppose one's natural reaction is to say the one on the left. And I think you know that this is a result of the illusion of perspective, an illusion with which we are so used, to which we are so used, and by which we are so easily fooled once we've accustomed ourselves to it. You might, if that picture were drawn more vividly, even be predisposed to thinking that was a real passage stretching away from you with doors at the end. Of course, if you came up against that kind of thing painted against the wall, you might make the mistake of walking into it and banging your nose. But this is an example of what we were talking about last time as Maya, that word from Indian philosophy which generally has the meaning of illusions, or rather, illusions brought about by the acceptance of certain conventions, of which perspective was an example. When we are not aware that certain things which we take for granted, like the separateness of things from each other, when we are not aware that this is a matter of convention, we are apt to be fooled. Now, I think one of the conventions by which we tend to be fooled more than almost any other is time. And for all human beings, time is a matter of extraordinary importance. And perhaps this is one of the principal ways in which we differ from animals. Because man has been called a time-binding animal. That is to say, a creature who is vividly aware of the fact that his life moves, as it were, along a line from the past through the present and into the future. Animals apparently live pretty much moment by moment. They don't appear to have very strong memories, but because man has a strong memory, he is able to bear the past in mind and, as it were, cast it forward into visions of the future based upon what has happened in the past. And therefore, although this facility gives man the most extraordinary ability to plan his life, to prepare for future eventualities, at the same time, there is a very heavy price which he pays for it, and especially if he takes this ability too seriously. In other words, if he doesn't realize that the true reality in which he lives is the present moment now. For example, the animal probably doesn't concern itself very much with problems of future disease, death, or starvation, and things of that kind. If an animal sees another dead animal lying around, I don't suppose he thinks to himself, well, one day that's going to happen to me. Rather, he just sees a dead animal, sniffs it, sees whether it's good to eat, and wanders away. But for human beings, it's entirely different, because we actually spend most of our time and a great deal of our emotional energy living in time which is not here, living in an elsewhere which is not concretely real. So much so that although we may be quite comfortable and happy in our present circumstances, if there is not a guarantee, not a promise of a good time coming tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, we are at once unhappy, even in the midst of pleasure and affluence. And so we develop a kind of chronic anxiety about time. We want to be sure more and more, because of our sensitivity to the feeling of time, we want to be sure more and more that our future is assured. And for this reason, the future becomes of more importance to most human beings than the present. And in this sense, we are hooked, taken in by a Maya, because it is of very little use to us to be able to control and plan the future unless we are capable at the same time of living totally in the present. And so, when in civilized societies we spend so much of our time living for the future, we become very much like those celebrated donkeys, you know, that have a carrot fastened on a stick that's tied to the neck, you know, behind here, and it comes over, and there's the carrot dangling in front of them. And they pursue it, but can never reach it. And so in exactly the same way, it's that way with us. My goodness, don't you remember when you went first to school? You went to kindergarten. And in kindergarten, the idea was to push along so that you could get into first grade, and then push along so that you could get into second grade, third grade, and so on, going up and up. And then you went to high school, and this was a great transition in life. And now the pressure is being put on. You must get ahead. You must go up the grades and finally be good enough to get to college. And then when you get to college, you're still going step by step, up to the great moment in which you're ready to go out into the world. And then when you get out into this famous world comes the struggle for success in profession or business. And again, there seems to be a ladder before you, something for which you're reaching all the time. And then, suddenly, when you're about 40 or 45 years old in the middle of life, you wake up one day and say, huh? I've arrived. And by Jove, I feel pretty much the same as I've always felt. In fact, I'm not so sure that I don't feel a little bit cheated. Because, you see, you were fooled. You were always living for somewhere where you aren't. And while, as I said, it is of tremendous use for us to be able to look ahead in this way and to plan, there is no use planning for a future, which when you get to it and it becomes a present, you won't be there. You'll be living in some other future which hasn't yet arrived. And so in this way, one is never able actually to inherit and enjoy the fruits of one's action. You can't live at all unless you can live fully now. And because now is never satisfactory, because we're never really living in it, we get more and more avid to go ahead and pursue the future. We develop our technology to a fantastic ability where we can more and more fulfill our desires for the future almost immediately, working towards a sort of push-button world. But have you ever stopped to think what the world would be like if you could fulfill every wish the moment you wished it? Suppose, for example, on going to bed at night, you could always dream whatever you wanted to dream. What would happen after a while? Of course, I suppose at first, you would dream fantastic pleasures, wonderful adventures, fulfillment of all the things you ever wished. Then as time went on, don't you think you'd want to be, a little bit surprised, to have a little bit less control over what was happening to you? And after you'd experimented with this for some months or years, you might even want dreams in which you suffered. Because there is no real delight, no real fulfillment without delay. Doesn't every child know on a hot day when you think, I'm terribly thirsty and I'd like an ice cream soda? Haven't you tried the experiment of putting off drinking it, putting off, so that you get thirstier and thirstier, and it's so much fun when you finally get to it? And so in the same way, impatience with time, always wanting the future, is frustrating. Now you know, in Indian thought, one of the basic myths or ideas is of Brahma, the world creator, who has infinite power and has everything that he wants. But he is like our dreamer, and he wants to do something with the infinite time at his disposal. And therefore what he does is to dream, just like this, to dream the existence of the world. And he does it over enormous and incalculable periods of time, dreaming that he is the knower, the self, in every single creature that exists in the world, dreaming them all at once, experiencing their joys and sorrows, completely plunging himself into the adventure of forgetting who he is. Illusory thoughts. thoughts of pursuing a future, thoughts of making one's happiness depend on something which isn't here at all. But when one can come to realize that the present is the only place in which you live, and that the past and the future are now no more than useful illusions, still useful, but useful only if one can live in the present, then, as I say, one can settle into full participation with the momentary reality of life as it goes along, just like music. And so in the arts of the Far East, there is reflected a kind of delight in momentariness. One can really consider, for example, this stem of a broken bamboo. Or, not only in painting, but in poetry, a poem in the Japanese haiku style, poems which just crystallize a single moment. In the dark forest, a berry drops, the sound of the water. Or a painting of a man sitting all alone in his boat and listening to the water. He's not asleep. He's not dreaming. He's a man living in an entirely real world, a world which we neglect because we have no time to sit and listen to the water. After all, are not the memories which you go over memories which persuade you that it's really worth being alive, really memories of certain moments in which life itself brought you completely awake? I know we all think of things like the smell of coffee and bacon cooking on an autumn morning, the smell of burning leaves. I remember particularly for me one glimpse of a flock of sunlit pigeons against the dark background of a thundercloud. And it's incidents like that that are very largely celebrated in Far Eastern art and poetry. Perceptions of the full reality and intensity of the moment. Such a one as this. The sea darkens. The voices of the wild ducks are faintly white. A brushwood gate, and for a lock, this snail. Or paintings where one sees just a few birds on a branch, so vividly alive that you somehow think the next time you look at the branch, the birds won't be there. This is all an art form possible for people who feel themselves to be living in this real momentary world. I remember once a very wise man who used to give lectures on philosophical matters of this kind. Before he started giving any lecture, would sit for a while looking at his audience very intensely like this. And then quite suddenly he would say, "Wake up! You're all fast asleep. And if you don't wake up, I won't give any lecture." And another Chinese sage pointed one day to some flowers while talking to a friend and said, "Most people look at these as if they were in a dream." And Buddha, one of the wisest of the sons of Asia, His real name was Gautama. But he was called Buddha because Buddha means the awakened one, the man who woke up. Now, in what sense was he awake? He was awake in the sense that he was completely all here. After all, we say about a person who's nuts, he's not all here. He's not all there. But our whole culture, our whole civilization, insofar as it is involved with time and living only for a future, is nuts. It's not all here. We are not awake. We are not completely alive now. And consequently, we are so hungry and so greedy because everything seems tasteless. We are living for an abstraction which has not yet come to be, and we don't know what really is.
Good morning and welcome to another day of broadcasting by CFCN Television. CFCN's main studios, offices, and transmitter are located atop Broadcast Hill in Calgary, Alberta. Our mailing address is Box 7060, Station E, T3C 3L9. Your comments addressed to the program director are welcome. We are transmitting on Channel 4 with an effective radiated power of 100,000 watts visual and 10,000 watts aural. Calgary cable companies carry our signal on cable Channel 5. The programs you are about to see will also be broadcast throughout southern Alberta and portions of British Columbia. In Oyen on Channel 2. In Field on Channel 4. In Bassano and Lake Louise on Channel 6. In Banff and Exshaw on Channel 7. In Drumheller on Channel 10. In Hand Hills on Channel 12. And in Sundre on Channel 13. CFCN has additional studios and transmitters in Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. Medicine Hat broadcasts on Channel 8, Cable 13. CFCN Lethbridge is on Channel 13, Cable 4, as well as Channel 3 in Fernie. Channel 5 in Burmese and Kimberley Cranbrook. Channel 6 in Sparwood and Waterton. Channel 8 in the Crow's Nest Pass in Invermere. Channel 9 in Brooks and Channel 11 in Pincher Creek. We hope you'll all have a good day and that you'll enjoy our variety of programming, which will begin in a moment.
CFCN Television presents Thought for the Day. Today's guest is Reverend John Guy, University Chaplain.
Hello. I wonder if you remember New Year's Eve 1985. If you were in Calgary that evening, about the middle of the evening, you may well remember there's a strange, frightening, sinister, wailing sound. Something had gone wrong with some little piece of technical hardware somewhere. Something short-circuited. And a number of those nuclear air raid warning sirens that were put in position in the late 50s suddenly started sounding off. I remember that evening very well. We were sitting at home having a quiet evening, and my son, teenager at Western Canada High School, received a call from a friend of his. His friend was alone in the house that evening. He was scared, very definitely scared. A pretty normal kind of guy, pretty tough and solid, but he was scared. Naturally, he thought it was some mistake, some accident or other, but he was scared and had to get in touch with a friend just for reassurance that, yeah, things were okay, and another human voice at the end of the line. That experience is a reminder that all of us on this globe are living within 30 minutes of Holocaust, within possible 30 minutes of extinction. And this is an intolerable situation for human beings to be living in. There are many people today who are aware of that, deeply and painfully aware of that, and who have sunk into a state of depression and despair, and who say this nuclear arms race can never be stopped. This nuclear arms race is going to end one day, and it's going to end with the extinction of all of us. There are people who are black in their expectations for the future. But I just want to say this about the current problem, and it is the greatest problem that human beings have ever faced in our entire history. I want to say this. As a Christian, I believe that we have been made and put on this earth by the mind, the power, the energy, the great being who has created the universe. And I do not believe that he has placed us here without giving us the resources that we need for living. I am convinced that the spiritual energies are there waiting for us to take, to give us the energy, the enthusiasm, the inventiveness, the faith and the power to deal with this appalling problem, to make a turnaround of the nuclear arms race and to bring peace in our time. I'd like you to think about that, pray about that, and believe that, for God's sake.
Today's guest has been Reverend John Guy, University Chaplain.
This is CFCN in Calgary, Lethbridge, and Medicine Hat.
Good Thursday morning, everyone, and welcome to AM Weather. I'm Carl Weiss.
And good morning, I'm Wayne Winston. Well, since this time yesterday morning, there's been some heavy rain from the Gulf Coast, the Ohio Valley, and some locally heavy snow in parts of Minnesota and North Dakota. Let's look at our satellite motion during the past 24 hours and see what's been happening. Now, the rains not as heavy as they were during the previous 24 hours, Tuesday to Wednesday morning, when they had torrential rains in parts of northeast Texas and into northwest Louisiana, but still 2 to 3 inches of rain was pretty common with these thunderstorms from the southeastern part of Louisiana across southern Mississippi, south central parts of Alabama. 2 inches or more of rain reported since yesterday morning at Macomb and Meridian, Mississippi, and over towards Montgomery, Alabama. Wind gust to 66 miles per hour at Birmingham when the thunderstorms passed through during the evening hours. 2 reports of tornadoes yesterday, one in Mississippi and one in Kentucky. Caused some damage, but no reports of any injuries, and that heavy rain extended northward to Miamitown and southern parts of Ohio, where they've had more than 2 inches of rain. Then we had a secondary of showers and storms you see developing out in the south central plains here, Kansas and Oklahoma. And during the evening hours, golf ball size hail reported in parts of Woods and Alfalfa County, Oklahoma. Now, as we head northward, there were some locally heavy snow in parts of North Dakota and Minnesota, anywhere from 6 to 11 inches in that area with a storm system there. Now, this early afternoon visible picture over the western part of the country shows the skies were partly cloudy, the precipitation rather scattered in nature, so we got some sunshine into the northwestern part of the country, plenty of sunshine across the southwest. We can even see the white sands in the southern part of New Mexico.